Have you ever been asked to prove you're not drunk at your DUI trial? The judge looked at me over his glasses. Mr. Novak, before we proceed, I need to ask, have you been drinking today? My lawyer grabbed my arm before I could respond. Your Honor, that's highly inappropriate. Counselor, your client appears to be swaying. I wasn't drunk. I have Meniere's disease, an inner ear disorder that causes severe vertigo. I disclosed this to my lawyer, but apparently he hadn't thought it worth mentioning yet. The irony was suffocating. I was on trial for a DUI I didn't commit, and now the judge thought I was drunk in court. Your Honor, I said, steadying myself on the podium. I have a medical condition. I haven't had a drink in 3 years. That's convenient, the prosecutor interjected. Just like your claim that you were sober during the arrest. 2 months ago, leaving my doctor's office after treatment for a vertigo episode. The medication made me drowsy, and I'd pulled over to be safe. A cop knocked on my window, saw me struggling to stay upright, and assumed the worst. Field sobriety test was a disaster. Couldn't walk straight, couldn't follow his pen. Breathalyzer showed 0.00, but he arrested me anyway, claiming I was on drugs. I can take any test you want right now, I told the judge. Blood, breath, hair follicle. Actually, the judge said, stand on 1 foot for 30 seconds. My lawyer objected, but I was angry now. I tried. Lasted maybe 5 seconds before stumbling. The courtroom gasped. Some jury members shook their heads. Your Honor, my lawyer finally spoke up. If you'll check Exhibit D, you'll see Mr. Novak's medical records dating back 7 years, documenting his Meniere's disease. Exhibit E shows his prescription for anti-vertigo medication. Exhibit F is a letter from his neurologist explaining how this condition mimics intoxication. The judge reviewed the documents. Why wasn't this presented earlier? We tried, Your Honor. The prosecution claimed it was fabricated. The prosecutor stood. Anyone can fake medical records. That's when Dr. Hendricks stood up in the gallery. I hadn't seen her come in. Your Honor, I'm Mr. Novak's neurologist. I've been treating him for 5 years. You can't just... Actually, the judge interrupted. I'd like to hear from you, doctor. She walked forward. Mr. Novak has severe Meniere's disease. His symptoms include vertigo, loss of balance, and nystagmus, involuntary eye movement. These mirror intoxication exactly. I've seen him during episodes. Stone cold sober. He appears more impaired than most drunk patients I've treated in emergency rooms. Why didn't he tell the officer? The prosecutor asked. I did, I said. Check the body cam footage. They played it. You could hear me saying, I have Meniere's disease, at least 4 times. The officer kept responding, sure you do, buddy. The judge looked annoyed now. Officer Riley, please take the stand. The arresting officer looked uncomfortable. Under questioning, he admitted he'd never heard of Meniere's disease. He'd ignored the 0.00 breathalyzer because I seemed drunk. He'd refused my request to call my doctor because all drunks have excuses. Did you test for drugs? The judge asked. The test came back negative weeks later, but by then, Mr. Novak had lost his job. My lawyer interjected. His employer has a zero-tolerance policy for arrests. It was true. 20 years with the company, gone. My reputation destroyed. My neighbors whispered. My ex-wife tried to modify custody, claiming I was an alcoholic. The judge dismissed all charges immediately. He turned to Officer Riley. Your ignorance of medical conditions and refusal to listen to the defendant is appalling. He recommended an investigation. Outside the courthouse, Officer Riley approached me. Look, I'm sorry. I really thought. You thought wrong, I said, and because you couldn't admit that, you destroyed my life. I was just doing my job. No, your job includes listening and investigating. You did neither. 6 months later, I won a civil suit against the department. Used the money to start a foundation educating law enforcement about invisible disabilities. Officer Riley was required to attend our first seminar as part of his disciplinary action. He sat in the front row while I explained how Meniere's disease works. When I demonstrated the vertigo simulation goggles that mimic what I experience, he volunteered to try them. He lasted 10 seconds before ripping them off, pale and nauseated. That's my normal Tuesday, I told him. He approached me after. I've arrested 17 people for DUI this year. Now I'm wondering how many were like you. That's why you're here, to stop wondering and start learning. Today, my program is mandatory in 3 states. Officer Riley, surprisingly, became one of our biggest advocates. He tells his story at every training. The cop who was so sure he was right that he destroyed an innocent man's life. Best mistake I ever made, he tells the rookies, because it taught me that certainty without curiosity is just dangerous ignorance.